Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Bitcoin price continues to correct to the downside. Some people are losing their minds over it. I personally am not, but I'll tell you what, XRP, although it's a little bit down over the last 24 hours, pretty well holding its own. And as the blockchain backer pointed out in his most recent video, altcoins actually performing better than Bitcoin over the last couple days. And he thinks that this may be perhaps an indication of where the real rallies are going to be, because he is steadfast on his position that Bitcoin going to top out somewhere in that $75,000 to $80,000 range. And he's the only analyst that I followed that has that conservative an opinion, and he could be right. I don't pretend to know. Everybody else that I follow thinks that Bitcoin's going to be going to $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000. And they have their own reasons for all of this, and we've been talking about this for some time, but it's worth having at least a little brief discussion here. Like, what is reasonable to expect at this point? But I've got opinions from a number of chart analysts, a little bit of talk about XRP, and also I'll end the video with this, but I do find it really fascinating. There's a public pension fund that has purchased cryptocurrency. Not the first time, but you don't hear much of these types of stories, but this just happened, and so I want to report on because I just find it genuinely fascinating. But before going further, I do want to be clear that I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so as far as XRP price action, it does nothing until suddenly it does. And these things occur out of nowhere very quickly. When XRP pops, it pops. Historically, it just has. And that's true of crypto in general, but doubly true of XRP because historically, anyway, XRP has ranged sideways longer than other cryptocurrencies, resulting in much more massive candles to the upside. And so it shakes people out that have issues with patience, and I understand that. I luckily don't. I will outpatient anybody. I seriously have no trouble with this. But as I'm recording this, XRP is at $1.11, Bitcoin at $61,346, market cap for the asset class 2.59 trillion. Bitcoin dominance down to 44.53%. So how about that? So even though you're seeing a fair bit of red today, and Bitcoin certainly down 2.77% over the last 24 hours. Bitcoin performing more poorly than altcoins on the whole. So you're seeing the dominance decline. How are the lemmings feeling today? Pretty good, but not as good as the last couple days in particular. Here's the Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 74 out of 100, indicating greed, down 1 point from yesterday, 75 out of 100, which was also the greed range. Because reasons. Just I tell you, whatever's happening in the moment, feel the emotions, and then apparently buy and sell accordingly. That's what they're doing. Silly stuff here. But look, the best is yet ahead. And I wanted to share this tweet. This is from chart analyst Credible Crypto. He shared the following with his 251,000 followers. He was talking about cryptocurrency Solana, which has taken XRP's number 6 spot in terms of market cap. XRP now at number 7. So still in the top 10. But clearly the price is suppressed, obviously, I think it's obvious anyway, due to the SEC SEC litigation against Ripple. Again, I've made my case clear. I don't need to litigate it again in this video, but I do not believe this action, even if we don't have a finality with this case, I do not believe that will prevent XRP from rallying. We'll see, because it's not about fundamentals. People aren't going to give a damn about the specifics of any coin. When money goes in, it just goes. I feel fairly strong about that. But here's what Credible Crypto tweeted about Solana. Solana is leading the market and looks to have completed its macro fourth wave as a triangle. This implies we have begun the final fifth wave of Solana's first macro cycle. This is going to be epic, and a taste of what we will see across the board in the coming months, expecting $500 plus, and right now it's at $204. So I wanted to highlight this because, again, despite what you're seeing today with Bitcoin price going down, if anybody out there is a little bit fearful, think again, nothing goes up in a straight line forever. Because look, and if Bitcoin is going to make it to $150,000 or $200,000 this market cycle, there will be a lot of new all-time highs along the way. It won't get there in one single jump. And look, I don't pretend to know if that's going to happen, but it certainly could. And then, where's the next thing? I think I want to pull up this next. Oh, yeah, here we go. Then somebody named Steve asked Credible Crypto, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin and general sense altcoins in the short term? And Credible Crypto wrote, I think we bought them at $57,000 to $58,000, and that's for Bitcoin, of course. So we perhaps haven't seen the worst of that yet, but again, he's a bull. He does believe that we're in an upward macro trend. This is a bull. This is a bull cycle at this point, a bull portion of the cycle. So nothing to be scared about. And then Steve wrote, so all to bleed heavily until then? Question mark. And then Credible Crypto wrote, no, not really. This is just a baby drop, more like chop, as in sideways trading. And he says, if it loses that region, then yes, but not expecting that. So he's saying if Bitcoin does drop below $57,000, okay, maybe alts take a greater beating. But as I pointed out at the beginning of this video, altcoins actually picking up dominance compared to Bitcoin over the last 24 hours. So Credible Crypto is correct on that. That's just a fact. And then as far as the XRP price, I got to talk a little bit about this. So I want to share with you. Here's a tweet that I from Credible Crypto. I did share this yesterday, but there's a little bit more to add to this, and I think it's worth talking about here. Credible Crypto yesterday wrote, if you think the SEC case delay is going to cause XRP to miss out on the bull run, you need to read the tweet below again as a reminder. Focus on the charts, which look excellent, by the way, and don't get distracted by the noise. And in the tweets, you can read it, it's on the screen, but he talks about how the vast majority of trading occurs outside the United States. And the SEC case obviously did not send XRP to zero, so if it didn't back then, I don't know why you think that's going to happen now. Somebody named Andrew, though, responded and doesn't seem to be convinced. Andrew wrote, it's already missed out. It should be around $4 to $5 by now. So you're talking about XRP should be at $4 to $5. And here's what Credible Crypto said in response to that. Go look at what it did during the 2017 run. I was there, but if you weren't, go check the charts. It didn't run big time until the last 30 days of the bull run. People were saying the exact same things then. Yes, exactly. So I'm counting on people. These are the emotions coming out. People feeling things about this. I'm counting on this happening, and they're going to feel like that until suddenly they don't, when things suddenly go. So that's why I'm going to outpatient everyone else, because none of this matters, and the market moves in tandem. That's it. That really is it. And I can get down with this idea that XRP probably would have been at $4 or $5 by now if not for this action. I do believe that it's suppressed, but I'm telling you, when money floods in, these are not going to be considerations. Because the rest of the world, they don't have the same legal concerns. It's just going to get traded. It doesn't freaking matter. It's people. So if you're in the United States, as a big chunk of my audience is, if your XRP goes to $5 or $10, whatever it goes to this market cycle, the reason is because of people that don't live in our country. Because I'm in the United States too. It'll be because of people that don't live in our country. It'll have the very small percentage will have to do with United States citizens participating. But mostly no. It's mostly the rest of the world. And the rest of the world doesn't give a damn about the SEC. I mean, relatively speaking, what I mean by that is, yes, so I get it, yes. Price cratered, I got it. There was a scare tactic. It did impact global markets. But what I'm saying is, now that we are where we are, the people that are still in it, they don't care. And there will just be more people plowing in. That's what I mean by that. And it'll be interesting to see where all of this goes. And the blockchain backer, too, in his most recent video, he had an interesting topic of conversation. I talk about it from time to time. I was like, the stock market, compare the stock market, the S&P 500 specifically, to crypto. There is this correlation. He's right about this. I've talked about this before. He was talking about how there's this correlation between the stock market and crypto. When crypto tanks, when the stock market tanks, crypto tanks. And the most recent big action in regards to that would be March of last year with the pandemic coming on. And so that was the first time when Bitcoin had encountered some sort of harsh economic environment. Not that things are all roses out there today economically. I'm not saying that either. But it looks like the stock market is in a bubble as well. I've been thinking that for some time, and the blockchain backer, he said in his most recent video, and that does seem to make sense. And so there's this bigger question, though, given that we know historically that the stock market and the crypto asset class do move in tandem. We know that. That's just fact. It just is. Given we know that's the case, what's going to happen when the stock market has a really bad day? Because he was comparing it to, not that it would be as bad as this when the bubble pops, but he was comparing it to what happened almost 100 years ago with the Great Depression, actually, starting in the late 20s, right? And so he's showing charts on his channel comparing these two, and so we'll see what happens. Not that he thinks it's going to be as severe, but if a bubble's forming, eventually like bubbles do what they do, they pop, and then you see a correction. So the question is, what would happen to crypto in that case? Because a lot of people think that crypto is the safe haven. Well, what should we expect to happen? Well, I can tell you this. As far as safe havens and hedges against tumultuous times, like people, that's the gold narrative. I'm not sure how, if that's particularly grounded in reality, but that's the narrative, and that's the narrative for crypto too. I can say, although I'm not convinced this is, these assets will always perform like that. You did see a decade ago, you saw gold run up in an interesting fashion, let's say. And I didn't pull up the gold charts right before recording this, but I've seen them before, of course, and you may have as well. But whether it was 2010, 2011, gold did start to run up like crazy. So, would it be a case if we see something disastrous like that Bitcoin and the crypto asset class starts actually no longer being correlated to the crypto asset class, or would it start tanking? Or would it tank at first and then rally beyond? I'm not sure. It's just history doesn't show that it behaves like that, so it's hard for me to think with the limited data that we have that there's any sort of, considerations grounded in reality that would make it reasonable to believe that crypto would, for some reason, stop behaving that way. Not that it can't. For me, I'm a data guy. I'm just like, it hasn't. What's fundamentally going to change? I don't know. Maybe it just hasn't been sufficiently tested in such an environment, but it's been tested a little bit. Look at what happened in March of last year. It just went with the stock market. Not so hot here. And so, you can think back to like where's the money going to flow? Because like there's when bad things happen and markets get like just tank, there's always a bull market somewhere. So it's like if money's exiting the stock market, where is it going? It's got to go somewhere. So the question, and that's the game, like where is it actually going to go? Well, if you look back to the Depression, you actually saw a deflationary dollar. And it was interesting too, because like if you look back to the Great Recession just a little over a decade ago, you didn't see that type of deflation that you saw over 100 years ago. What you actually saw was that maybe there was like a small bit for a short period of time, but that what we actually saw was a regular pace for inflation. And why did that happen despite the bad economic times? Well, because the Fed was printing dollars like crazy, and the Fed didn't have the same policy during the Depression. Not that I'm advocating for what they're doing or anything like this, but I'm just noting historically what has happened. And so if the dollar is going to keep getting printed, are we going to see a deflationary dollar if things get rough out there? Well, not I don't think so. If the dollar is going to keep getting printed like crazy. So where is it actually going to go? It's got to go somewhere. Where does it go to precious metals? Does it go to just where's it go? It's got to go somewhere. It's not like all of this just disappears. So I'm not quite sure, but if you're talking about a massive crash, something's going to benefit from that, because if somebody's selling a stock, what are they doing? Are they purchasing United States dollars with their stock? Is that effectively what they're doing? You could word it like that. Are they doing that, or into whatever their fiat currency is? And then if so, does that immediately go to something else? It'll be interesting to see, because these are somewhat uncharted waters. If you're talking about a massive crash to that degree, I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not highly confident based on historically what we've seen, but it is a somewhat limited data set. You're talking about roughly 12 years for Bitcoin and crypto, so we'll see. But either way, in the short term here, the crypto bubble is definitely inflating. Bitcoin arguably is in a bubble. It'll be interesting to see if we really do see that top around that $75,000 to $80,000 region. And if I'll tell you what, if the blockchain backer is correct, what a freaking legend. And if he's not, like, no big deal. He's right on the vast majority of things that he's shared in terms of his expectations for the crypto market and specifically XRP. He's mostly been correct in terms of expectations. So if he gets one thing wrong here, fine, it's a highly consequential one, but it's still just one thing. So if he's wrong, he's wrong. Okay, whatever. It doesn't change what I think here. Not me. But if he's right, damn, he's like the only one saying this. Legend. That would be absolute legend. So either way, the greatest is yet to come. The best is yet ahead of us. So the fireworks are still coming. He's still on board with that. Everybody is, though. Every analyst that I follow believes that we're going to be. I can't imagine this bull cycle ending without the fireworks and money rotating into alts. And that's why when he was talking about in his video about how altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin the last couple days or so despite this all-time high, that's a little curious. So it's like, is that an indication that the blockchain backer's right? Well, I don't know. I'm not so bold as to have an opinion on this and to look back and be like, see, yes, I was right or I was wrong. I won't be able to do that. But either way, just in a general sense, higher before. But look, we'll know. We're going to know sooner than later. Because if altcoins start popping off and Bitcoin's only around like 75 or 80, yep, that's it. Blockchain backer was correct. But if Bitcoin runs up to 75 or 80 and we're not seeing that rotation into alts, that'll be an indication that, hey, maybe Bitcoin is going to go higher before we see that huge rotation begin. So we're not going to have to wait that much longer to figure out. But man, I am so curious. I wish that like 1 year from now, Moon Lambo could travel back to me to just let me know how it turns out. That'd be fantastic. Give me some tips too so that I know when to sell. That'd be fantastic. Okay, and now next we got here we go. I'm going to read this. This is from chart analyst Michael Vandepop. Was watching that $64,000 zone as a crucial level to break, and the market has failed. So a corrective move is taking place. Overall, looking at $56,000 to $59,000 is a good spot to buy Bitcoin. So that's not far off from what Credible Crypto said. Again, Credible Crypto said $57,000 to $58,000. Michael Vandepop, $56,000 to $59,000. But they're both thinking, okay, more likely than not, we're going to see some pullback to roughly that level, and then it will continue to the upside. They both think we're going to see over $100,000 this market cycle. I hope they're right. I mean, I'd prefer, like, bigger's better as far as I'm concerned, because then there's that much more money to cycle into XRP later on. Michael Vandepop also wrote this. The market can easily give 5 to 10x returns on altcoins from here, but please, and I'm dead serious on this, take your profits and don't look back for 1 to 2 years. The markets aren't going up all the time. If you make life-changing money, accept and run. Don't become greedy. Yeah, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do in a general sense right now. When there's a substantial amount of a profit for me to be had, I'll be selling like crazy, and I will not be worried about selling the top. I will not be worried about selling too soon. If it's a lot to me, I'm going to take it so that I know I have it. And if the market keeps running up, so what? Because I'm not willing to take on that risk and just hold it longer and get too greedy. I'm not going to do that. I will be selling on the way to the top. A lot of it, I believe I probably will sell too soon because I'm going to be conservative here. But I mean, now that said, I do have to be sufficiently enticed. It's a few moving parts here, not pretending there aren't. I'm just saying, I'm not worried. Like, I'm telling you, if XRP is going to $30 this cycle, I'm going to be out well before that. I'll just say that. I'm going to be way out before that. And it's not an indication of how much or how little XRP I have. I'm looking at overall net worth and goals that I have. And so once I factor in everything for myself, which is different than you or anybody else listening, I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't need that. Yeah, it would be great, but I'm not willing to take on that risk. Just when things are insane, I'm going to capitalize on that. I'm going to sell. I'm not going to worry about hitting the top. That's just the way that I'm approaching this. I'd rather make sure I have something, and I'm not going to have regret when I look back and be like, I sold XRP and it went 2, 3, 4 times higher, based on when I sold portions of it along the way. Oh, boo-hoo. I only have a crazy amount of money. Oh, darn. My life's over. No, I'm not going to be crying about it. It's going to be fine. And to everybody else that sold at a higher price, good for them. That's what I'll say. It's perfectly fine. Everybody wants different things. People that sell sooner than you, it doesn't mean that they're stupid or did something wrong. It's about what risk tolerances they have and expectations, desires, all that. There's a bunch of stuff to consider there. But some people are so one-dimensional that they're just like, you sold before all-time high, but now that once they have the benefit of hindsight, you're like, what an idiot. And I'm saying, no, that doesn't mean they're an idiot. You don't know their particular circumstances. Don't be a jerk. Here's a tweet from chart analyst Kaleo. Imagine thinking Bitcoin spent the past 5 months grinding all the way back to where it was in April, only to stop after breaking the previous all-time high by $2,000. And so I do find that unlikely. I don't think it's going to stop there. The question is, how high? Is it that $75,000 to $80,000 range, or is it going to $150,000 or $200,000 or $250,000? Either way, this pullback here does not signal that things are ending. And we're not seeing altcoins pop off like crazy here. We're not. So altcoins, fine. Last couple days outperforming Bitcoin, but they're not popping off. We're not there yet. Bitcoin is going to the top. Then there was this from Bitcoin maximalist Anthony Pompliano. And I can kind of get on board with this. Like, you know me, I am Mr. XRP Bull. That's my largest crypto holding. I'm the biggest fan of XRP that there is, effectively. From a technological perspective, real-world adoption, all sorts of things about XRP I just think are absolutely fantastic here. But I'm still pro-Bitcoin. I want it to do well. I don't know for sure that it's going to be number one in terms of market cap or even be here 50 years from now in any meaningful way. Maybe it'll just be in a museum by then, but it could be. If given that it is number one in market cap now, and it seems to be the standard, at least for the time being, I acknowledge standards are hard to supplant. And when a standard's in place, and currently there is one, it doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just, it's a challenge to make it move on along here. So I don't know, but I would prefer it do well, and I would like to see institutional money flow in. I would like to see publicly traded companies get in, even with just a little bit, because that makes sense. And Anthony Pompliano articulates the case why here. Take a look at this. If you're a shareholder in a publicly traded business and they don't have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, it is time to start demanding it. They are complicit in the destruction of shareholder value as long as we have persistently high inflation. Official inflation numbers are over 5% CPI for months now. Bitcoin is up 400% in last 12 months. Companies could have put 2% of their balance sheet in a defensive position and protected the entire balance sheet from erosion of purchasing power. I don't expect this position to be popular, but it is time we have the conversation. Public companies have a fiduciary responsibility to protect and grow shareholder value. Sitting in 100% cash and cash equivalents with high levels of inflation is a violation of their mandate. And so in a general sense, I'm on board, and you will come a point you'll see as crypto just becomes more and more mainstream, and especially as volatility dies down, frankly, because it's less risky. It'll be perceived as less risky. I think you're going to see more and more money flow in and go in that general direction here. So in a general sense, I'm on board with this concept. You just have to monitor it. But if you're talking about 1 or 2%, you've got 12 years worth of data. Fine, it's not as much as historically how the stock market has behaved, but it's still 12 years. You know which direction this is trending. Adoption is increasing, not decreasing for the asset class. So if something bad starts to happen for Bitcoin in terms of adoption, you can adjust your crypto exposure, put in other coins if that ever makes sense. But why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take a little dab of Bitcoin? I just, because again, it's not something that's going to reckon. If you're talking about a small percentage, the data is there to indicate this is a direction that things are going, and some people are getting it. So a couple things here, and I'm not going to read these articles, but I want to highlight this. This was a story from February 12th, 2019. So in a few months, it'll be a 3-year-old story. But this was cool. 2 public pensions anchor Morgan Creek's new $40 million venture fund. And so this is the first instance in the world that public pension funds actually invested in crypto. And this fund, it's not exclusively into Bitcoin, like the cryptocurrency itself. There are also investments in here that were related to the crypto asset class. And so that is true. But a certain smaller percentage actually was in Bitcoin, so they actually got exposure directly in that way anyway. It's not that they were purchasing their Bitcoin on an exchange or something like that. They're doing it through this crypto hedge fund, Morgan Creek. And that was a big deal. That was the first instance of this ever happening. Like, somebody has to be first, though, right? Well, we are seeing more of it. Take a look at the timing of this, too, though. This is interesting. This is from yesterday. Houston Firefighters Pension Fund makes Bitcoin Ether purchase. Now, what's funny about this is, mind you, that headline I just shared from almost 3 years ago, that's from CoinDesk. This new one from yesterday, also from CoinDesk. Look at the subheading, though. The fund has invested $25 million in crypto in what appears to be a first for a U.S. public pension plan. They reported on the first, which was in 2019, and here they are yesterday saying, oh, we think this is the first one. So, CoinDesk, you done forgot that you reported on the first ever public pension investing into crypto. But that's okay. We'll let that go. But yes, indeed, this money flowed in. And so it went through a fund, and that's fine. It's the same as with Morgan Creek. So how about that money pouring in? And mind you, this is happening towards the later part of the cycle here, which to me actually seems a little bit more risky. Like in 2019, they were purchasing during bear market territory. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know how much how much more room Bitcoin and the crypto asset class has to climb, but I do buy into this idea that it's going to go much, much higher than it is right at this exact second. So we're all going to learn together. This is all going to unfold, and we'll see exactly what this looks like. But it really is, no matter how this goes, it's an exciting time. And I don't think it's worth being afraid. Like, I know I was talking about this stuff, the idea of the stock market being in a bubble, crypto is what it is, and it could be perceived as scary. Where do you put money? Well, we're going to figure it out together. There's always a place to invest. And that's why I kind of wonder too, like if the stock market's going to crash and if crypto follows with it, well, if the dollar, I mean, maybe while that's happening, maybe it will make sense to have more than usual planted in the dollar. I mean, if the dollar is going to maintain its inflationary status, or even if it depends. Inflation bad, I get that, but if the inflation we're experiencing is nowhere near as bad as the decline in the stock market and crypto, then even dollars would be the better place to be parked temporarily, and then you can just start buying stuff back when it feels like we're near the bottom. And even then, you wouldn't be able to get in near, like, actually at the bottom. No, like, pretty much nobody can time that stuff. But there would be opportunity to get back into stocks and crypto. So we'll see what it looks like. Nobody knows for sure. Nobody does. I don't. You don't. All the other analysts that I follow, none of them know for sure. But it's an interesting topic of conversation, and there's going to be a need to put money somewhere always. And I'm going to be talking about it. Once we're back in bear market territory, and one day when we see a huge corrective measure in stocks, we'll see how crypto responds. I'll be talking about all this stuff because there's going to be a right and wrong place to put your investments. And I'll tell you what. We'll see. Like, this is a messy thing to get through, but I'm optimistic, and I'm going to do what I can to make sure that I allocate reasonably well, understanding that it's going to be a sloppy process. It just is. Nothing's going to be clean cut here because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But suffice it to say, crypto's looking great. I'm still waiting for the glory days yet ahead. Fireworks shooting off. XRP hitting its all-time high, entering a new realm of price discovery. That is all ahead of us. I believe it's going to happen. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say are right. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.